The Battle of Nivelle took place in front of the river Nivelle near the end of the Peninsular War. After the Allied siege of San Sebastian, Wellington's 80,000 British, Portuguese and Spanish troops were in hot pursuit of Marshal Soult, who only had 60,000 men to place in a 20-mile perimeter. After the Light Division, the main British army was ordered to attack, and the 3rd Division split Soult's army into two. By 2 o'clock, Soult was in retreat and the British in a strong offensive position. Soult had lost 4,351 men to Wellington's 2,450. Background: in the Siege of San Sebastian, the Anglo-Portuguese stormed and captured the port at the beginning of September 1813. In the Battle of San Marcial on the 31st of August, Soult failed to break through the Spanish defences in his final attempt to relieve the siege. The French army then fell back to defend the Bidassoa River, which forms the French-Spanish frontier near the coast. At dawn on 7 October, the Anglo-Allied army overran the French river defences in the Battle of the Bidassoa in a surprise crossing. During this action, the Allies also captured several fortified positions in the area of La Rune Mountain. Both sides lost about 1,600 men in these actions. Disposition: arrayed in front of the course of the river Nivelle, whose route was marked by a series of hills on which the French had built strong defensive positions or redoubts, was the French army under Marshal Soult. Soult's line stretched from the shores of the Atlantic on the French right flank to the snow-covered pass of Roncesvalles on the left, a perimeter of about 20 miles. With only 60,000 men, Soult was stretched to an almost impossible point. This also means that he could not hold troops back as reserves, something which may have turned the tide of the battle. As Soult moved back to his base at Bayonne, his position strengthened, but he was not quick enough and Wellington caught him up. The French position was dominated by the Great Rune, a gorse-covered, craggy mountain, nearly 3,000 feet high, separated from the Great Rune by a ravine, roughly 700 yards below it is the Les Rune, along the precipitous crest of which the French had constructed 3 defensive positions. If the French defences on La Rune could be taken, Soult's position would become very dangerous, as it would open him to attack from all elements of the British three-point pincer plan. Wellington's plan was to distribute troops along the whole of Soult's line but make his main attack in the centre. Any breakthrough in the centre or the French left flank would enable the British to cut off the French right flank. So, Wellington ordered that the British left would be led by Sir John Hope and would involve the 1st and 5th Divisions as well as Friar's Spaniards. Beresford would lead the main Allied attack against the French centre with the 3rd, 4th, 7th and Light Divisions, while on the British right Hill would attack with the 2nd and 6th Divisions, supported by Murillo's Spaniards and Hamilton's Portuguese. Wellington decided to attack on the 10th of November. Battle. The battle started just before dawn as the Light Division headed towards the plateau on the summit of the Great Rune. The objective of the division was to sweep the 3 defensive forts the French had constructed out of the battle. They moved down into the ravine in front of the Les Rune and were ordered to lie down and await the order to attack. After the signal from a battery of cannon, the offensive began. Despite this being a risky move and the men being almost exhausted, the surprise and boldness of the British sent the French fleeing towards other forts on other hills. While the 43rd and 95th were dealing with the French on the Rune, there still remained one very strong star-shaped fort below on the Maus Plateau which reached out towards the coast. This was attacked by Colborne's 52nd Light Infantry, supported by riflemen from the 95th. Once again, the French were surprised and the British succeeded. They had, in the French eyes, appeared from the ground, at which point, in danger of being cut off. The French soldiers quickly fled, leaving Colborne in possession of the fort and other trenches without loss of a single fatal casualty. Shortly, the main British assault began with the 9 divisions fanning out over a 5-mile front. When the 3rd Division took the bridge at Amots, All French resistance broke as any communication between the two halves of Soult's army was now impossible. The French resistance melted away and soon they were in full retreat, having lost 4,351 men to Wellington's 2,450.